There's something there. Trying to write a new Django song. I've just got kind of just a chord progression that I'm just jamming over to kind of maybe get some ideas. I do have some melodic ideas over it. I think my original is... It's in there somewhere. I'm finding some fun stuff. What's going on, Joseph? 6'9", good to see you. As always, Bob, thank you for being here. Dennis, you too. It's dinner time. Hello, hello. Limey, hello. We are, yeah, it's raining here. I got my pants, my jeans are still wet from getting coffee. I wouldn't say it was raining sideways. It wasn't particularly windy, but for some reason I got a lot of water on my jeans. And the scale I'm kind of using there is a harmonic minor scale. So I'm playing A minor, but I'm adding a G sharp, or I'm not adding a G sharp. I'm moving the G to G sharp. So the diminished thing, because in an A harmonic minor, let's see, you have A, B, C. So you have a diminished, what's called a whole diminished, We can talk about that. It's off subject, but there's something called a half diminished seventh chord, and there's a whole diminished seventh chord. Both have a diminished triad, so both have stacked minor thirds. Don't worry, I'll show you. It's not gonna be a quiz. So if we were to start to do the harmony of the modes in C with seventh chords, all right, we would have, and there won't be a quiz on this, but we would have C major 7. We can talk about this today, actually. D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G7, A minor 7, and then the B chord, which, you know, when we're doing like a C progression, you know, for songwriting we emphasize the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We kind of avoid the 7 because it's a diminished arpeggio. It's a diminished chord, not easy to play on the guitar. It's a diminished triad if we're talking about just the triads here. But if we continue that and add the 7th to each of these chords, like I said, we get C major 7, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7, G7, A minor 7, and something called B minor 7 flat 5. Or you could also call, I don't really see this written, it's more of a classical music term, but B half diminished 7th. And what does that mean? Well, a full diminished 7th would just be stacked minor thirds. All right? So if I start on a B note right here, okay, 2nd fret, play that note right there for me. Second note, a 2nd fret on the 5th string. And if I go up 3 frets, I get to D. I go up 3 more frets, I get to F. I go up 3 more frets, I get to an A flat. And if I go to 3 more frets, I get to B again. And it just repeats. Okay? If I'm going to keep going up minor thirds, it's just going to keep repeating itself. So it'll sound like this. Okay? And so because I'm using nothing but minor thirds, that's fully diminished. Okay? Every major third is flatted, diminished, or something. Well, we're not going to talk politics here. We're going to talk guitar, which is political enough. Who's the greatest guitar player of all time? Oh, I should have put that question in there. Except I know I'd have a bunch of pandering YouTube fans and saying, "You're the best guitar player of all time, Tom." And I'm like, "Yeah, not even close." Okay, so, but when we stack those minor thirds, that's fully diminished, okay? To have a half diminished 7th chord or a half diminished chord, we have to have those first 2 minor thirds. The B, the D, and the F, all right? And that's a diminished triad. You can't call it a diminished chord if it doesn't have a diminished triad. But instead of an A flat, instead of going from F to A flat, which is a minor third, a half diminished chord, which is naturally occurring in the key of C, by the way. This is not some kind of weird chord. This chord is just natural if you just go root, third, fifth, single notes, then 2 notes and 3 notes, and you go to the 4th note. It's just naturally going to occur. And that's the F to the A, okay? Because A is also in the key of C major. So B is in the key of C, D is in the key of C, F is in the key of C, and A. And we can reorganize those notes in a very easy way to play. I love this chord. Okay, so here's your B. Put your first finger on the B like we've actually been doing, and then put your third finger on the third fret of the fourth string, and right away we get that tritone. Okay, and there's our F. We're going to put our second finger down here on the second fret of the third string, and there's our A. So that's our seventh, and we're going to put our pinky here at the third fret of the second string. And that's what's called, you can call that a B half diminished chord, or B half diminished seventh. I think you could just say half diminished, because again, it's diminished is implied, but it's that third interval. And that's I see that chord every now and then. That's often used as a 2 chord. I could have put it in this song right here. What did I do? I could have put it in that little song, but when you have a 2-5-1 progression, okay, and if we look at that C scale, a 2-5-1 progression would be, look at the second note, the C right here, right there. See that? You got the C. I got 2 octaves of a C major scale. You look at the second note, and that's what we're going to build our 2 chord on. So a 2-5-1 progression is going to be a D chord of some kind, a G chord of some kind, and a C chord of some kind. D, G, C. We could go D. That's not going to be right though, because in D we have a F sharp, and there's no F sharp here in this scale. So we have to make a D minor. And so D minor to G to C is what's commonly referred to as a 2-5-1 progression. But that terminology is almost exclusively jazz terminology. And therefore, you're going to want to add something more than just triads. You're going to want to add sevenths. So I'm playing D minor 7 to G7 to C. I can play C major 7. And that makes it sound much more jazzy. So that's kind of the origin of the 2-5-1. Actually, the question I have here for this week is, what's the best live concert you've ever seen? We've talked about this in the past, but I figured you might as well get it down in writing here. And Sadie's saying, oh, you saw Prince live. I never did see Prince live. Bob Schumann says Twisted Sister is his favorite concert live. Oh, no, you said hello, Sister Holly. Bob's like, I didn't see Twisted Sister. Okay. So let's talk about... we talked about harmony a little bit. We've talked about it before in the past. We've probably talked about seventh chords in the past as well. A song that actually, that's... no, that's right. It's kind of a common Latin progression. And it's kind of both in A minor and also in a harmonic minor, because there's a shift. Once you go to that E7 chord, you're kind of shifting and going to you're going to an A harmonic minor. You're adding a G sharp to the scale. So that would be a very, kind of common progression. All of those chords up until there are in the key of C. And then I could go to pure E minor, but that just wouldn't wouldn't create as much tension. It wouldn't sound so final. It would almost... Still works. Then back to the top. 5, 1, 4, 7, 3, 1, or 3, 6. Stay on 6, 2. Oh wow. No, that's fine. Those are both phenomenally great shows. I don't think I ever saw either one of them. I did see a lot of jazz guitar players when I was younger, when I was a kid. There was a club in Indianapolis that I guess the owner was really into solo jazz, and there was this kind of this, they call it the Holiday Inn circuit. And I actually remember going down to the Holiday Inn or going down to some hotel in downtown Indianapolis, and because like Herb Ellis was playing, and they'd sit in the restaurant and play, and people would go, and I'm sure I had to pay something to go see him. I don't think I could just sit there. Maybe I had to get drinks or something, but I wasn't old enough to drink. I've seen Tommy. Yeah, his facility is insane. His ability to memorize all those songs. The Cal Jam 1 and 2. Who were the headliners of Cal Jam? I think it was Van Halen was one of them. I remember that. Then there was the US Festival. Where was the US Festival? So, okay, so if we take this scale down here and we just go every other note, right? We create triads. We go for 3 times. C, E, G is a C major triad. D, F, A is a D minor triad. E, G, B is an E minor triad. F, A, and C is an F major. Then we have G, B, D, which is G major. A, C, E, which is A minor. B, D, F, which is that B diminished. And then we get back to C, E, G. We're back to the 1 chord, which is C. So we can give each one of these a name. The 1 chord, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord, the 6 chord, the 7 chord, and so on. We've talked about this before. The 1 and the 4 and the 5 are the 3 major chords in the key. The 2, D, and E, and A are the 3 minor chords. So all 3 of those are minor chords. And then the B is the only one that's, the 7th degree is the only one that's a diminished scale. Oh, nice. I saw Dizzy Gillespie when I went to see The Tonight Show, and we sang, it was Johnny Carson's 60th birthday, and we sang Happy Birthday to him. It was pretty fun. Oh no, ticket prices for Tommy High. There's a little place in Pasadena that's like, I actually, Alex played there recently, and I'd never been there. It was a Coffee Klatch or something. And they had, at one point, they had some really good guitar players playing there. And I never did go to see any of those shows. The only time I went there was when Alex was actually performing there. So you still have those. So if we continue that, though, all right. So if we go C and we go E and G, we've got a C triad chord. Well, if we want to make it a seventh chord, and I'll explain that in a second, we go one more third up. We skipped A, just like we skipped D and we skipped F. We're going to skip A, we go to B. C, E, G, B. And that is a C major 7 chord. Now, why 7 and not 4? Because there's 4 notes. Why are we saying 7? Well, because if you look at the C, we can think of that as the 1. The E would be the 3 because we're skipping the 2, which is D. And then we go G is the 5th because we skipped F. So we have C, D, E, F, G, 5. Then A and B. B is the 7th note. All right. Well, then why isn't, when we do D minor 7, why isn't it 2, 4, 6, 8? Well, when we create triads and when we create chords, we kind of start the counting all over again. So D is going to be the 1 of a D minor 7 chord, or a D chord. Any D chord, D is going to be the 1 or the root. Okay. I would often, when I'm notating what notes you're playing on a diagram, I might put 1, but almost always I put an R for root. So you can see all the R's, like in this G chord. You've got a root here and a 3rd, 5th, root, 5th, and root. So when you play G like this, 3, 2, 0, 0, 3, 3, kind of how I always play G's. Back in the 60s, I played it like this, or like this, which I sometimes do also. But generally, if I'm just grabbing a guitar and I'm going to play a G chord, I'm going to grab it like this. Well, the kind of nice thing about this, maybe it's kind of also a bad thing, but the nice thing about this is we have 3 G notes. We have 3 roots in here. So it's really easy, no matter what you're doing here, you can easily find a lot of roots. Okay, so it's nice, you know, we got 3 roots in there, that's okay. And then on the C chord, we only have 2 C's, so we only have 2 roots. But basically, when I'm changing chords, whatever the first note is in the name of the chord, whatever the name of the chord is, that's going to be called the root. So that's why it moves with it, all right? So C, E, G, B would be the root, 3rd, 5th, and 7th of a C major 7 chord. And you can play that by playing C chord and taking off your first finger. So I'm not using my first finger. See, I'll hide it behind the neck so you can't even see it. Okay, so so in fact, when you play it right here in the middle 4 strings, C, E, G, B, you're playing all the notes right in order. Now that's not going to be very common because when you do F, it says the same thing. But generally, to lay it out like that, and on piano, it's super easy. In fact, if I take that C major 7 chord on the piano, I'm just taking every other white key, and I go up 1 key with each finger. That's D minor 7. I go up another key. Do I have a piano? Not here. Let me go back to this other thing here. Hold on a second. I'm getting a notification that my live stream is at 9. It's like, okay, I know. Turn this up a little bit. And if I just move my hand up, D minor 7, E minor 7, F major 7 is super duper easy on piano. But on guitar, that's like, and then I go D. I don't recommend this. Okay, there's the. Now, it might not be a bad idea to see those. It wouldn't be a bad idea to be able to visualize those. That way you can kind of see the triads and the major 7th or the 7th chords go up and down the neck. So when I say 7th chord, that can also be a little bit confusing. All right. I'm talking about any iteration of a seventh chord. And naturally occurring in a major key, we have 4 different types of seventh chords. But one of them is actually called a seventh chord. That's where it gets confusing sometimes. People are like, wait, is it C7? No, play C major 7. So we have major sevenths, we have dominant sevenths, or what is commonly called just a seventh chord. And I should say dominant seventh, but to me the dominant seventh thing brings in kind of some of the relationship between chords. The term dominant usually means the 5 chord, and you can play a dominant seventh chord, and it doesn't have to be the 5 chord. Kansas Sticks, Boston. Yes, Moody Blues. Let's see, have I seen any of those? Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I actually saw Emerson, Lake. Did I see him? No, I met Keith Emerson before he committed suicide. Actually, my friend CJ was very good friends with Keith. Devastating. Yeah, I have hardly seen any bands. I asked that question more out of curiosity than like to brag about something. I mean, the last concert I went to, Alex and I saw Fleetwood Mac, and it was the 5 musicians the 5 members that had all the hits, Lindsay and Christine and Stevie, and it was the 5 of them. So that was awesome. What was interesting though, they did all their hits up front, and then they did like an hour-long show afterwards where they're doing like Albatross and the stuff from the early stuff that Lindsay and Stevie weren't even part of, and people just started leaving. It was kind of sad. It was like, yeah, nobody wanted to hear that. So it was a long show, but I wouldn't say it was the best show I ever went to, because that one we were literally in the last row at the top of the Forum, like straight back from the stage, looking straight to the stage. We didn't have to turn our heads the whole night. Probably, oh, you guys are gonna hate me. Probably the best show I ever saw wasn't so much the artist as much as it was the circumstance, and that was Justin Bieber. And I took my mom and my daughter and my niece to the show in Indianapolis, and he did one, because he knew I was there, he did one of the songs that we wrote in the show. And everyone in the room, like the 20,000 girls in the venue, they all knew the song. So I'm listening to 20,000 people sing along with this song that I wrote with Justin. It was, to me, that was probably one of the best moments of my life, I have to say. I think my mom was very proud of me. It was also very, for me, that was a big moment, because it was letting her know that, I'm okay. Not that I made $1 million from it or anything, but that's in some way, shape, or form, my decision to move to California wasn't a bad one. So, wow. What show was that, Dennis? The Marillion. Am I saying that right? Marillion? Seals and Crofts. Yeah, I was a big Seals and Crofts fan, Eagles fan. Black Sabbath, I never really gotten. I really was really into Emerson, Lake Palmer, though, which is interesting. And yes, I really, really liked Yes. Thought they were brilliant. Although I felt like Steve Howe's guitar playing was a little on the sloppy side. It was hard to emulate, but kind of sloppy. Oh yeah, this is a very nice Del Arte Django guitar. Yep, beautiful. I wish Elixir made. See, these have loop end. Oh, I don't want to zoom in on it because then it'll be blurry. But these are loop end kind of strings. They're very specific for Django playing. I wish Elixir made them, because literally within a day they're already rusty. My sister saw Yes. My older sister saw I think Zeppelin 2 or 3 times. Like her boyfriend was really into Zeppelin, so every time they came to Indianapolis, Emerson, Lake and Palmer went bankrupt on a tour. They came to Indianapolis and they had a choir and an orchestra touring with them, and it bankrupted them. So they stopped doing that. I don't know what they were thinking, but a lot of times when bands do that, I think like when Hans Zimmer tours Europe, he uses local musicians. So, except for his main band. Like his main band, like there's maybe 20 of them, and then he supplements with local musicians. And if he's going to Vienna or he's going to Paris, he's going to have phenomenal musicians. So, and then they have all the charts, and they just probably the orchestra rehearses the day of, and then they're ready to go. Okay, so if we take C, E, G, B, 1, 3, 5, 7, that's how we get a 7th chord, all right? If we go C, E, G, B, skip C, and go to D, that's how we get a 9th chord. That would be a 9th chord in general, but specifically it would be a C major 9th. Now at this point we're getting to like, that's 5 notes. If I'm going to play a C major 9th chord, I'm going to play it like this. Here we go. Middle 4 strings only. 3rd fret, 2nd fret, 4th fret, and 3rd fret. And I have a root, I have the C, the E, the 3rd, I have the B, which is the major 7th, and I have the 9th. If you're going to call it a 9th chord, you got to have a 9th in it. Okay? And so that's a C major 9th. You could add an E on top if you wanted, but if it's not movable at that point. The great thing about this chord is these are all major 9th chords. Here's E flat 9th, major 9th. Here's F sharp major 9th. Here's F major 9th. Sounds like a Steely Dan song. I dug the Michael Amardian interview with Beato. I actually listened to it twice. It was really good. If you haven't listened to it yet or watched it yet. So that's the why you call it a 9th chord, because it contains everything from the root to the 9th, every other letter. Okay, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. And add 9 is different, and I don't really call them add 9s anymore. I call them a 2 chord, but basically an add 9 would be the triad plus a 9. So you're skipping the 7th. There's no 7th in an add 9 chord. So you could use an add 9 chord in a situation where there might be a C, like if you're an F and you might have a B flat. You could use that. Or if you're in the key of C and you have a C major 7, or in the key of G, any of those 3 keys, a C add 9 chord would work. But a C 9 chord is really technically only in the key of F. Now you can use it in any way you want, but harmonically it's the C9 chord, which has a dominant 7th, and a C major 9 would only occur naturally in the key of C and in the key of G. Okay, but an add 9 would just be the C, E, G, and then you skip all the way and add the 9th. But I just call that the 2, because you get the same 4 notes if you go C, D, E, and G, right? You don't have to put them in that order, so you don't have to go C, D, E, G. That would be real. You could do something like. Okay, that would be those notes in order. Let's see. That. Yeah. Kind of cool, right? All right. The hardest working. It is a holiday, and Beth is off today. I should be with Beth. Actually, we went away on Friday. We went to the beach. So here, if you start to think, if you start to, continue to extrapolate here, it can help you understand the complexity of these chord names. Okay, so a C chord is C, just a triad, C, E, G. A C major seventh chord is C, E, G, B. C major ninth is C, E, G, B, and D. C major 11th, which I don't really see chords C major 7th or major 11th very often, but that would be C, E, G, B, D, and technically F. You could do all of these. I don't really ever hear that. Ninths all the time. I hear major ninths all the time, but major 11's not really very common. That 11th kind of creates this, because you have the B, which is the 7th, and you have the 11th, which is F. It creates a tritone in the middle of this. It just doesn't, not really usable. You might do something like a C, E. I might do an add 11, which I would actually call C4, but that you could play this way. Check this out. Play C. Okay, and then we're not going to use our second finger. You can take it off, but you can leave it there if you want. Add your pinky right under your third finger, and I might call that a C4 chord. I heard a joke. Somebody asked, "What if there's silly putty? Why isn't there serious putty?" And somebody commented, "Yeah, it exists. It's called C4. C4 is serious putty." So this is a C4 chord. I have a C, I have an E, I have a G, so I have the triad, and I have the 11, which is the 4, or you can think of it as 11. But you wouldn't call this a C11 chord. You would call this a C add 11 or a C4. I call them C4, which is a fairly new way to name things, but it's kind of a cool chord. It also has kind of really strong F sound, like an F major 9. I could see you thinking of it as kind of an F chord, but the other way I could do it too, if I wanted to, is I could play a C chord and lay down my first finger, and that would be a little bit more odd. You got that 4 on top. It just has a little bit more of a rub. You can add your pinky here. Okay, so play and slide this up 2 frets, and you have a D, kind of a D chord, but with a G in it. That's a D4 chord. So it's that 3/4 rub that you want. And then, but see, so now you can see we got, so with the C13, with the C11, technically, we have 6 notes. And if we go one more and get the last note in the scale, we would have C13, and that would be C major 13, C, E, G, B, D, F, and A on top. Now, if I get rid of that F, basically the way you would play a C major 13 would probably be something like that, a C major 9 with the A added. But you probably would put it in here more tight. I don't have enough fingers. So so that's how you get those numbers. That's what the 13th means and everything. But there's usually more information in there. If it just says C13, then that means it's implied that it's a dominant chord, which means the 7th would be B flat and not B. See, like I said, there's 4 different kinds of 7th chords. So there's C major 7, C7, C minor 7, and C minor 7 flat 5. Well, we could also have C minors full on C minor 7, but I'm talking about that occur naturally. Okay, in the key of C, we have a C major 7 and we have an F major 7. We have an E minor 7, we have a D minor 7, we have A minor 7, we have a G7, and we have a B minor 7 flat 5, or a B half diminished. All four of those, excuse me, I know, right? All four of those are, there's a way I could have a little MIDI keyboard print out there, and so whatever I hit here just shows up on the MIDI. But those are the four seventh chords that naturally occur in any major key. It doesn't matter what key we're in. So if we go to D, we go D and then skip E and go to F, and then A, we get a D minor triad. And if we keep going, we get a C, and that's a D minor 7 chord. You could play it this way if you wanted to. Top four strings, not playing the bottom two strings. Open D, second fret, first fret, first fret. So I'm having a bar, kind of miniature 2-string bar right there. And this D minor 7 in a open position. E minor would be the next one, so we would go E, G, B is an E minor triad. We go to the skip C and we get D. That's the 7. So we have 1, 3, 5, 7. And I'm kind of simplifying it. I might, if I were to do a diagram, like you've seen it before, on my last video I did diagrams, I might do something where it says, root, flat 3, 5, flat 7, because I'm referencing the fact that it's a minor third and then a fifth and then another minor third above that. So, and that would be the way you might explain any minor seventh chord. 1, flat 3, 5, flat 7. But you can also just say, if you're just referring to it quickly in kind of an academic context like we have here, you could just say 1, 3, 5, 7. We can do that in a second. I can show you those. It's no good way to do it. So we end up with a minor seventh. Now, what's interesting about these, if we extrapolate and go onto the ninth, like if we did that with the D, F, A, C, and we go to E, so we have 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, D minor 9. Very common chord, very beautiful chord. I don't have a fifth here. I could maybe lay down my pinky or something and get it, but it's just not, it's not necessary. You can always get rid of the fifth on these more like ninths and 11ths and 13ths and stuff like that. The fifth is not very critical. The third is very important because that tells you if it's a major or minor chord. And the seventh is very critical because it tells you if it's a dominant seventh or a major seventh sound. Like I could have D minor with a major seventh. In fact, that's that chord, the James Bond chord. So I have a minor third. So I got the third in there, I got the seventh in there, I got the ninth in there, I have the root. That's pretty much all you need. But the interesting thing is that chord is not in the key for E. That F sharp is not in the key of C. So the ninth with an E minor in the key of C, if we go E, G, B, D, and we skip E and we go to F, that's not a chord we'd ever use. I've never been asked to play E minor flat 9 or a E minor seventh with a flat 9. That would be technically E minor seventh flat 9. I don't think I've ever seen that. So when you're playing, and that's the 3 chord, meaning C was the 1 chord, D was the 2 chord. So the 2 chord can have a ninth, no problem. But the 3 chord, you're not probably going to want to put a ninth in there. And then we go for the next one, we go to F. We get F, A, C. There's our triad, right? And then we can add the E, and we get this. And you can play that on the first position. Top 4 strings, 3rd fret, 2nd fret, 1st fret, and open E. Like Color My World. Actually, I think that starts on something like that. All right, but that first chord is a major 7th chord. Now, the interesting thing about the 4 chord in any key, but in this case, the 4 chord, again, we got 1 chord is C, D minor, E minor, F major. The 4 chord there, the 11th is something you would use. Because the 11th is a B natural, and it creates this beautiful, this kind of thing like, you know, you can do. And that is a haunting, beautiful sound. So you would see it, but you don't call it an 11th chord because technically it's a sharp 11. So I'm just making it worse, aren't I? I'm making it much more confusing. But we're mainly concerned with 7th chords, okay? And I'm gonna show you all 7th chords, and I'm gonna show you arpeggios too. Okay, not last, but the next one, the 5 chord, we go C major, D minor, E minor, F major, G major is the next one. G, B, D is a major triad. Okay. I'm not even reading the, sorry. Okay, and then there's an F right here. Oh, fun fact, I was working with a Bieber at Henson Studios. I don't know, have you seen the documentary yet? We Are the World documentary on Netflix. It's really good. A friend of mine was one of the engineers there, Benny Facconi. In fact, I was talking to him about it a little bit with a friend of mine, and he still has the sweatshirt that they gave out 40 years ago. Crazy. It's exactly 40 years. It's very good. It's really about how they got 40 superstars together at the same time in the same room, and it's pretty amazing how it happened, or that it even happened. We can talk about that. All right, so we have G. Well, if we go to the G7, if we go to the 7th, G, B, D, F. Well, this D to F is a minor 3rd, so that creates a dominant 7th sound. Like that, or you can play it like, if you play G like this, just put your first finger, take off your pinky, put your first finger on the 1st fret of the 1st string. Yeah, and again, Gary, when you play a 9th chord, when you play an 11th chord, a 13th chord, it's a big part of its elimination. If you're playing with a bass player, for example, here's A13. I'm just playing 4 notes. Technically, A13 is 7 notes, but there are certain notes you don't necessarily need to hear. The root is one of them, because if you have a bass player, he's playing an A. Right? But I could get the A with my thumb if I want to. But I've got a G natural, which is the 7th. I've got the C sharp, which is the 3rd. I've got an F sharp, which is the 13th, and I have a B, which is the 9th. And that's what those are the main notes that people expect to hear. They do not expect to hear the 4th in there. They don't, that you could also, the 11th, don't expect to hear that. You might have a 13th with a flat 5. That's not uncommon, but that's really more of a 9th. I don't have a 13th in there. If I went like this, it'd be a 13th with a flat 5. But yeah, the 5, if there is an altered 5, this is my one caveat. You can get rid of the 5. Like A13 is, you can get rid of the 5. But if it's A13th flat 5, oh, you need the 5. And that technically, A13 flat 5 is almost kind of like a B over A. Like, I don't even have a 3rd in here right now. There's no C sharp in here. So a piano player might be able to throw that in. You might be able to do that. but now I don't have a 7th. So yeah, it's all about, when on the guitar, it's all about kind of meeting the expectation of the harmony. And just because it's a 7-note chord, you have 6 strings, you go, well, I can't play a 7-note chord. You wouldn't play all those anyway. The piano player wouldn't play all those. It would be ridiculous. It wouldn't make any sense. So, you're watching documentaries on CBGs. Nice. Oh, cigar box guitars, yeah. Okay, so, and then if we continue on from A, we have A, C, E, and G is the 7, A minor. So it's an A minor 7th chord. You can play that by play A minor, take off your 3rd finger, kind of, or C. You can think of it as a C chord with an A in the bass. That's A minor 7. And then the last one is B, D, F, A, and that's kind of B half diminished. All right. Or B minor 7 flat 5 is another name for it. So B minor 7 would be this, and here's the 5th, and you want to flatten it, and you get this. And so the way to finger this, I showed you to you before. First finger on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, 3rd finger on the 3rd fret of the 4th string, 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and pinky on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string. So we have B, which is the root, D, which is F, which is the 5th, the flat 5, A, which is the flat 7, and D, which is the minor 3rd, flat 3rd. Okay, now a B whole diminished would be this, and you'd be like, well, what do you call that? That's a 6th, right? You go, no, technically not. Technically, you would say root, flat 5th, double flatted 7th, and flat 3rd. That way, you still have 1, 3, 5, 7 in it. See, if you go and explain a diminished chord by saying, oh, it's a root, flat 3rd, flat 5th, and a 6th, you're kind of messing up that every other note thing, right? It should be all odd numbers. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have 6 chords, and like I said, 2 chords and 4 chords. But when we're analyzing it, we're going back and analyzing it, you want to be able to say root, flat 3rd, flat 5th, double flat 7th. Because there's a flat, wait, sorry, there it is. There's the triple flat 7th. There's a 7th, here's a flat 7th, here's a double flat 7th. Did I say triple? Sorry. But you're just creating this kind of, and it's that kind of riff is very common in gypsy jazz kind of stuff. You know, you get to the 5 chord. It's flashy, because with diminished, fully diminished, like whole diminished, you know, like full diminished, it repeats itself every 3 frets. So you did whatever lick works over a diminished chord is probably going to work 3 frets higher or lower from there, and you can go in both directions. So. But yeah, that We Are the World, where that is recorded, is Studio A or B at Henson, which used to be A&M. The A standing for Herb Alpert Studio, which used to, before that it was Charlie Chaplin's studio, believe it or not. In fact, there's just outside the studio, there's some concrete there where Charlie Chaplin put his footprints, and of course they're angled at like 45-degree angles. But you can stand in Charlie Chaplin's footprints there at Henson. But yeah, anytime I'm working with, most of the time when I'm working with Justin, we're at Henson. It's been a while, but I think was I there last year for a minute? Yeah, I may have done some stuff last year there. Oh no, no. I wish I was a good Django guitar player. I have my moments that when I'm like kind of tracking. One of the things that I do is it makes life very complex. But I'll create a track and then I'll solo over it. And what I'll do is I'll just loop that, and it creates a comp track. So if I do it 10 times and I stop, it opens up 10 files, and I can slide and choose the best lick of the 10 for each phrase. But the problem is, it's like, oh man, I love this lick, but I didn't get out of it in time to get to this other lick that I love, you know. So it's kind of what I'll do is I'll kind of create a composite. That's what I did with the what's the one that I released on. You can see it on Spotify. If you enter my name on Spotify, I think there's 2 songs there: Emma Louise and then the Django one, and I can't think of what it's called. Django All the Way, maybe. Oh yeah, that was why there was a horn on A&M logo. Yeah, exactly. Herb's a great guy. He sold A&M Records, and so that, you know, and it's actually the Jim Henson Corporation that owns it now, the Muppet guy. That's why it's called Henson. And so their offices are there at the studio. The Jim Henson Muppet offices are there. But the studio, I'm assuming the studio generates. They have a big sound stage there that they use for video shoots, and even sometimes they do shows there, TV shows filming there. It's like a TV film sound stage. I think Van Halen shot a video there, like 15 years ago or 10 years ago. I know because my friend Kook, who introduced me to Justin, was excited because he got to work with Van Halen on something. I forget if he was producing vocals or something. He became friends with him. So, but one time when I was at Henson with Bieber, Rush was at the studio recording too, which is funny. He had 2 Canadian bands there. Or 2 Canadian artists there. Yeah, Sadie, I did that too. I saw Sheryl Crow, but it was the Colby Calais was warming her up, and I was more interested in Colby Calais at the time than Sheryl Crow. Although I like Sheryl Crow, we stayed for about half of Sheryl Crow's show at the Greek, and because I didn't want to sit in a parking lot waiting for people to leave, we paid extra for not in and out parking, but non-blocked parking. So at the Hollywood Bowl and at the Greek, because there's just not a lot of parking, they stack your parking unless you pay extra to not be stacked. And so that's what I did. I paid extra so that we could get out of there. Because I've sat in the parking lot waiting for people to show up, and at the Hollywood Bowl they kick you out pretty good. You're not allowed to just dawdle there, and it's really inconsiderate to just sit around and dawdle and have a meal after the show or eat your meal after the show or anything at the Hollywood Bowl, because they start to turn off the lights. It gets really dark, but because there are people that are sitting in their cars waiting for you to leave so they can leave. So you gotta, yeah, it's a little bit of a drag. This is no different than a million other places in the world. Okay, let me just show you some minor 7th chords, and we're gonna do them all on the middle 4 strings. And the great thing about this is the root's gonna be here. So if you memorize the notes A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, if you memorize the notes on the A string, then you'll be able to create, I'm gonna show you ultimately 4 different types of chords, 4 different 7th chords. And I wish I had thought about that I was going to do this. I would have written these out so you could see them, but we're just going to have to do them this way. But ultimately I'm going to show you, so 4, but you got 12 places you can put it. So technically I'm showing you 48 chords. And the first one's going to be C major 7. And some of these might require some bar, but the C major 7 technically doesn't. We can bar to the first string. In fact, all of these you can bar to the first string, but you just on the middle 4 strings, which is great if you're playing like with fingers. And almost every one of these, the 5th is right here on the 6th string, is right below where the root is. So these are all going to be, actually the voicings are going to all be the same. We're going to have a root, a 5th, the 7th of some kind, and the 3rd of some kind. In this case, it's a C major 7th chord. So we have first finger on the 5th string, 3rd fret. 4th string, put our 3rd finger on the 5th fret there. 2nd finger is going to be on the 4th fret. 4th fret of the 3rd string. And the pinky is going to be up here on the 2nd string, 5th fret. Actually, it should feel really good in the hand. And again, if you want to go all the way down there, you can add that, okay? You want to add the bar, you got that. And you can put the 5th right there if you want. Okay, but that's a C major 7 chord. This is C sharp major 7, D major 7, E flat major 7. We have E major 7, F major 7, B flat major 7, B major 7. Okay? Hey Richard, what's going on? I did see the Rolling Stones. I've told you that. Saw them at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. And it was, the warm-up bands were In Living Color and Guns N' Roses. And it was at the Coliseum, and it was packed. And I had really good seats that I got from a friend of mine whose dad was a big mucky muck at Warner Brothers. And they got us really good seats, and but it was so loud. I mean, yeah, my ear was dead for a week. I wish I'd known. But it was, before you thought about that kind of thing, you just go, yeah, it's loud. It was 89, I think, so it was like pretty long time ago. Okay. Now, the next chord is a D minor 7. Here's how you play D minor. Here's one way you play D minor 7. I'm at the 5th fret, 7th fret, 5th fret, 6th fret. So this I am going to have to bar. And I'm playing middle 4 strings. Okay? But that's D minor 7. So you can practice going back and forth between C major 7 and D minor 7. And so again, first finger, 3rd finger, first finger, 2nd finger on the 2nd string, 6th fret in this case. But again, this is because there's no open strings, I can move it around. I have D minor 7, D sharp minor 7, E minor 7, E flat minor 7, D minor 7. And again, the 5th is right there if I want. Okay, so now all we got to do for E minor 7 is go up 2 frets and we have E minor 7. Okay, so I'm at the 7th fret, 7, 9, 7, 8. Middle 4 strings again. If you want to bar it all the way down to the first string, you can totally do that. That note's legitimate. And the 5th is right there, so if you want to go... Yeah. I've been trying to come up with some exercises for jazz chords. Just little 1 chord or 2 chord exercises that you can practice that are kind of fun, and that might work. See, I need the... Nah, I want the 6. Anyway. All right, so E minor 7. Then remember our C major 7, okay, where we had 3, 5, 4, 5. That's the same as F, so we just slide that shape all the way up to the 10th fret and we get F major 7. And you don't have to bar. This is the beauty of this one because it's a 4-figure chord. We don't really need a bar. Okay, so I'm at the 8th fret, 10th fret, 9th fret, 10th fret. So so far we have the 1 chord, the 2 chord, the 3 chord, and the 4 chord. We're going to go up again. We're going to go to the, okay, we're going to go to, so basically move that F7 up 2 frets. And again, this, F major 7, move it up 2 frets, but all of these again are movable. F major 7, E major 7, E flat major 7. Okay, we're going to go up 2 frets, F sharp major 7. This would be G major 7, but we don't want a major 7. We want a dominant 7th. We want a regular, so G7. So take off your 2nd finger, and now we do need the bar. And you can play G7 down here too, but I'm trying to keep the shapes all the same so you can kind of see how they kind of line up on the fretboard. Okay, we might have a problem here with some of the acoustic players, but on electric you shouldn't have a problem getting this. And I'll put the 7 down here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So G7 is a bit, and so the frets are 10, 12, 10, 12. Okay, that's just one way to play a G7 chord. And the thing about this is all of these have all 4 notes of the 7th chords. So we have the root, the 5th, the 7th, and the 3rd. In every one of these chords, we have the root, the 5th, the 7th, and the 3rd. The guide tones, which are the 3rd and the 7th, they're always on top here with these chords, which also makes them really nice. So for the most part, if you were just playing the root and the 5th, so far we're going to just be doing this. Power chords. Oops. And we go to the 12th fret, we're going to get the E minor, or the A minor 7. I'm starting to get tired now. A minor 7. And that would be 12, 14, 12, 13. Again, middle 4 strings. 5th is down there if we want to go. We could also play this if you can't get this, you can play an open position, so you can still see the harmonies moving up the fretboard, and that would be A minor 7 here. We should play it this way anyway, just so you can see it here and here, because you could play the C here and you could also play it up here. But the A minor, so it would be open, 2nd, open, 1st. See that? Okay, and that's the minor 7th. Then we have the root, the 5th, the dominant 7th, and the minor 3rd. It creates a minor 7th chord. And so this shape is the same as the D minor 7 and the E minor 7. That's the great thing about so when we harmonize a major scale, you know that the 2 chord, the 3 chord, and the 6 chord are all basically the same. At least up to the 7th. We start adding ninths, we got to make some accommodations, but so those are the 3 chords in the key, those 3 minor 7th chords in the key of C. Now, another aside, if we eliminate the G string notes, okay, which is where our G string is where those 7ths are. We have one more chord to do, but if we eliminate those and we just play the root, the 5th, and the 3rd, we get these really nice spread triads. Okay, and I love using those a lot for writing. That kind of thing is really nice. So that's just by eliminating the notes on the G string, which again are the 7th. We have root, 5th, 7th, and 3rd on all of these. Okay, last one is our half diminished one, and I showed you this one already. 2, 3, 2, 3, middle 4 strings. This is the only one where the 5th isn't down there. I don't know if you would ever do that, do the root 5th thing. I mean, I guess if it's a Latin, you know. Let's see. We start with A minor, yeah. Let's see. That would be that progression from before, which was kind of a minor jam, but also with harmonic minor at the end. That doesn't really offend me to go to the 5th, but you can't just go down here. That's an F sharp. The 5th of this chord is an F natural. Which leads really nice to the E note. Sit on this. And all I'm doing is I'm actually just moving these chords. I'm using only the chords I just showed you so that I have the root and the 5th for the bass. It's probably not the most interesting voice leading. What is the next? C? No. G7 to C to F major 7. Flat 5, E7. And this is the chord that's out of the key. And that E7 leads really strong to that A minor. Very, very Latin thing to do, but it goes back, you know, it goes way back. You can find it in classical music dating the, you know, 12th and 13th century. So it's not an uncommon thing. Have I heard of Gareth Pearson? I have not. So much music to listen to. Heck, Beato interviewed some jazz piano player I'd never heard of. Okay, so we can elongate and play these arpeggios in order. By doing that, I mean, or these chord forms in order. So in other words, we can play C, E, G, B in order. So here I'm mixing up the order. I'm playing C, E, G, B. Okay, 5th string, 2nd string, 4th string, 3rd string. James Strahle is a great acoustic guitar player. Yeah. Oh, that's the best live concert ever. I know. I got to take Beth to see James. She's never seen him. I actually know a couple guys in the band. Sometimes Luis Conte's playing percussion for him, and Michael Landau's playing electric usually with him. So, okay. So, what I'm doing there is I'm playing 3rd fret and then 7th fret, however you get to it, pinky, and then 5th fret and then 4th fret. And you can continue that, but I'm just showing you the first 4 notes. And that's going to be for that and for the F. F, you would do the same. So, and if wherever I put this finger, that's what kind of major 7th chord is going to be. Oops. Okay. The next one, D minor 7, much easier. We don't have a 4-fret spread. We only have a 3-fret spread, and that's 5th fret, 8th, sorry, yeah, 5th, 5, 8, and then next string 7, and then 5. This would be a good opportunity maybe to practice your alternating picking across strings. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down. You could also work on your sweep picking, I guess. And then you take that up 2 frets and you get E minor 7 arpeggio. And again, we're not even going a full octave. If you want to go all the way. And then we go up here. Okay, and that would be F major 7. So I'm playing 8, 10, I'm sorry, 8, 12, 10, 9. And then G7 would be 10, 14, 12, 10. And then A minor would be 12, 15, 14, 12. Or you could, and the B diminished, the half diminished one would be 10, I'm sorry, 2, 5, 3, 2. I love the sound of that. That also works really nice over a G7 chord. In fact, this B minor 7 flat 5 that we've been doing, B minor 7 flat 5 or B half diminished 7, is a really good voicing for a G7 chord. If I play this G like 9, like okay, if I go from that E, I go up to G, and I play the top 4 strings of that. I have D, F, A, and D. I'm sorry, I have B, F, A, and D. Same thing as here. So this could also be thought of as a dominant, like the 5 chord. Especially when you hear it go from there to C, there's a lot of, it resolves nice. It's not, I wouldn't say there's a lot of tension there. That's more tension. But the half diminished, yeah, a little bit of tension going there. If nothing else, that B to C is really strong. Can you also add octave displacement for lead? Not sure what that means. You can. In other words, oh, well, like this, to displace that, I would take this one and go up an octave here and then back down to the original octave, and then here you get something like, I mean, I don't do a lot. Carl Verheyen does that a lot in his soloing, but I find his soloing kind of leaves me a little dry. I think his songs are okay. I remember back in the day when I was really into Steve Lukather, I wasn't Steve Lukather, but Larry Carlton and Lee Ritenour. There were 2 LA session guitar players that struck out and decided to do their own thing. And I guess it was probably a good thing. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if they regret getting out of LA session work, because a lot of LA players like George Deering came up because those guys dropped out. And I know George Deering's secondary market check must be a fortune. Now maybe Larry and Lee are making more money in BMI and writing royalties than these players that kept doing the studio stuff are making in secondary market money. I don't know, but it adds that stuff kind of adds up. It can be cumulative. You got to keep doing the sessions, and I don't do enough union movie dates, and there's hardly any TV dates. I occasionally do a union TV date, but there's very rare. So now I don't know if you mean like to go like Dan, if you're talking about like oops. You know, and I might do that. I probably wouldn't do it so much like that. I might do something like where I'm just kind of sliding around in the C major scale and I'm hitting that octave above. I actually like the sevenths better, so I might tend to do something like that, where instead of going, I might do something more like. So yeah, but I'm not sure if that's what you're referencing. Best concert, Joe Bonamassa. Love Bonamassa in London, Ontario. Nice. Yeah, I've never seen him. I actually know his publicist is a friend of mine, Michael Jensen. I went to lunch with him, and he brought me like the entire catalog of Joe Bonamassa CDs, and I at the time I don't even think I had a CD player anymore, so I looked at them and I went, okay, and I put them away, and then I pulled them up on like YouTube and listened to some of the songs, or on Instagram. I mean, not Instagram, on Spotify. So let's see. My best concert I've ever seen. I don't know. Well, like I said, it's probably the Bieber concert, just because I took my mom and my daughter and my niece to see him, and he did one of the songs that he and I wrote. And he had 20,000, mostly girls, singing the song that I wrote with him. And that was pretty darn cool. That was really cool. And he knew I was there, so I think that's part of the reason why he did the song. So he and Dan did it. Yellow Raincoat was the song. Oh, Joe Bonamassa's from upstate New York. Love watching Stephen Rothery. Okay, I'll have to look him up. You give me names I've never heard of. I'm always just working on my playing, and like maybe sometimes it's good to see someone else play. But I got like I'm working on my Django stuff. I'm always working on my flamenco stuff. I'm working on the Latin stuff. I got all these instruments. I try to get some level of competence on. Let's see. What would you say his name was? Stephen Rothery, not Rothbury, Rothery. Interesting. All right, so I'll okay, so it's going to be a live. I don't want to get in trouble here with monetizing. Not that I make any money on these videos. The live stream. I'm going to try to get out that. I have this other video that I shot a while ago, and I have to finish editing it. I have to do a voiceover for it. So once I do that, then I'll drop it. What was my last video? I didn't even notice how we've been doing. Yeah, it's a little lean. It's funny. I guess people are probably out doing stuff. Sometimes when it's a non-work day, like it is in America right now, my YouTube live streams are busier. What is the? We'll see. I'll see what I can find out. But yeah. Oh, Crosswords Festival. Yeah, that's an all-star thing. Yeah, the festivals are almost kind of like, hey, that's cheating. I remember the first concert I ever saw was John Denver. Probably the best concert I ever saw was Radiohead, and that was with Alex, and that was part of it. You know, to be with someone, you know, family or a kid or a spouse or something, and seeing a show is probably makes it a little bit more special too. But I mean, Radiohead was freaking amazing, and you know, the crowd was so into it. Marillion, Tom, please. What's that? Marillion. Okay, so I'm supposed to check out Marillion. Is that another band? I thought that was a festival. Marillion. Okay, live. Oh, that goes way back. 87? Is that right? The Royal Albert Hall from 5 years ago. Okay, that one's got a lot of views. I'll pull this one up and watch it when we're done. Any Grateful Dead shows? No, I never went to see Grateful Dead. No, I never got into them. You know, it's funny because anytime I've seen Grateful Dead like on video or whatever, and I had a neighbor in Indianapolis who actually sold me his George Benson Breezin' record because he bought it and thought it was jazz and he hated it, and he sold it to me. He also sold me a couple Charlie Parker records, so he got me into jazz. He was a older kid in the neighborhood, but he had this drawer system set up, like really nice, like pine stained drawers that were all the size of cassette tapes, and he had drawers and drawers, a whole like high boy full of and I'm talking in the 70s here. I'm talking 76, 77 of Grateful Dead shows. He would go to shows. He was probably 18, 19. He would go to shows and record them, and then he would make copies and trade them. And so he traded with all these people, and they gave him, he would get their shows and he would give them his. And it was quite they allowed their shows to be recorded. So, I think that was kind of brilliant on their part because it made for a real faithful audience. But every time I heard their shows, it made me think of when I had bands and we would be jamming in the garage, and we would just jam for like 20 minutes until we were bored with the jam, and then we would do something different. It just kind of reminded me of that. So I just was, and I never got into drugs. So, everybody at the Dead concert was just used as an excuse to get high, and the cops couldn't arrest everybody, so they didn't arrest anybody. And the thing, like, I remember going to see Dave Matthews, and it was kind of a similar thing. As soon as Dave Matthews hit the stage, I was at the Forum the Forum in LA. You could just see the smoke. We were like way at the top, and you could just see the smoke slowly fill the arena all the way to us. And I could barely see the band at that point. So it's just they could have pretty much randomly pulled people over and arrested anybody that went to that show, and they probably would have been batting about 50-50 on the weed thing. But the weed's legal now, so smoking inside is illegal no matter what. But Joni Mitchell's great. Yeah. Fish, yep. Fish is a jam band. They kind of took over for Grateful Dead, and then John Mayer kind of got together with Bob Weir, and that's in fact a friend of mine, James Santiago, is friends with Bob Weir, and they're using a pedal. In fact, The Edge was using the pedal at the U2 show. Now I've seen U2 twice and like that a lot. Yeah, I like the U2 shows I saw. One was Dodger Stadium and one was the LA Sports Arena. So yeah, I saw John Mellencamp. That was where was that? That was at the Universal Studios Amphitheater, which I don't even know if it exists anymore. I think they turned it into a ride. They needed the real estate, and I don't think they were making enough money on the shows. Orianthe, yeah, she's good. She toured. She was in the band with Michael Jackson when he died, along with my friend Judith Hill, who was a singer, and my friend Alex Alla, who was a bass player. In fact, I probably know everybody in that band now, but I knew Alex Alla way back when, way before Michael died. In fact, Alex Alla was on tour with the Jacksons in Europe when 9/11 happened, and he got stuck in Europe. Couldn't get back for a while. April Wine, yeah. The Dead are touring this year at the Sphere. Okay, so that's who's going to be there. Yeah, U2 is just about done. I didn't get there. Some friends of mine went, and yeah, I was bummed. Alex and I really wanted to go, but dang, the tickets are like $450 was the cheapest ticket, and those are for the not the good seats. Those are right by the band, and you don't want those seats because you'll be doing this the whole time. You want the seats, actually, the more expensive seats are the ones that are further away, where you can see the show of the Sphere and the band. It's interesting. Check out the prices on those. Oh, okay. Thank you, Dennis. The problem with I can't Spotify list. If you can post the YouTube link, it's better. If I click on that Spotify link, it'll play 10 songs before it'll play that song, plus 17 ads, because I don't have Spotify. So, oh, nice. Yeah, the Crossroad Festival. Yeah, I mean that kind of playing just kind of leaves me dry. I mean, I keep saying that about people, but I don't know. I mean, the shredding thing, the sweeping thing, the two-handed, Eddie, no one did it better than Eddie. Eddie kind of, for the most part, created it. There's people that would say Eddie stole it from them. I actually met somebody once that said, yeah, Eddie stole his whole thing from me. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. Because it's one thing to show somebody a lick, and I've done that. I remember showing, my friend, Rick Bennick had a tap with, he hadn't really thought about it, and then he started putting in a show. I didn't claim that, he stole his technique from me or anything like that. I mean, I got it from Eddie. So, and actually, Larry Carlton, I got to be careful to click on this. If you put the YouTube link up there, I can try to open this without, yeah. Okay, but okay. So I'll check it out. I should get going. You guys are sending me all these videos to check out. And I will, so I'll see you next Monday, hopefully, Lord willing. And we'll pick up. We'll talk more about harmony. Maybe I'll have some diagrams for you, these chords, so that you can actually see them rather than sit here and try to remember what I just showed you. Okay, sorry about that. Kind of didn't know where I was going to go, but that's